Autism, not a diagnosis I would have given myself. So begins my diary entry on Friday the 29th, March 2019. However, this is not where my journey to self-acceptance began, and a lot of the fact that it was a journey came from the outside. Although I will also admit that a lot of it came from the fact that I am not very flexible in my thinking. Before I start talking, I would like to make very clear that I am speaking only of my own experience. Yes, I am no expert in autism, not how it expresses itself in me, and definitely not how it expresses itself in other people, or what it is. I would also like to mention that whether or not I am autistic is not up for debate. I am sorry if that sounds harsh, but while you are entitled to your own opinions, you do not live in my brain, and the people around me who are an expert in this all seem to agree. This brings me to the first thing that I would like to talk about. One thing that has happened almost every time that I told someone that I was autistic, / am autistic, of course, and the reason that I stopped telling people for a while is that the moment those words left my mouth and hung in the air between us, people seemed to take it as a debatable question. Telling me that I am not autistic when I have gone through a journey to accept that it might be a possibility, then practiced saying it in my head 1,000 times, finally gotten the courage and found a time to mention it, is not helpful. You are entitled to your opinion, and I don't blame you for it. Before my diagnosis, my therapist gave me a book on Asperger's syndrome, the type of autism that I have, and even though I found myself relating to almost all of the things that they discussed, I convinced myself that anyone would. And so, after reading one thing in that book that I could not relate to, I wrote off the possibility of being autistic. This in turn meant that when the people from the hospital came where I had been to see what the cause of my depression was, came and told me that I did indeed have autism, I reacted, well, let's just say that my first reaction was to see where and how I could get a second opinion on this, because I refused to believe it. The fact that I could go from there to making a YouTube video about autism and telling people means that I have done my journey of discovery already. And as well-meaning as your comment is, that is not necessary. The second thing that I would like to talk about are stereotypes. They're everywhere and about everything, and they are probably one of the reasons that so many people don't want to accept that I am autistic. Not that they don't accept me. I have been really lucky to always have found friends who accept me, to have a really open-minded family who adjusted to my needs to a certain degree, even if they didn't understand them. But many people seem to think that autism is only the simplified stereotypes that are everywhere. The first stereotype is that people within the autism community can never make eye contact. A social worker who specializes in autism and ADHD and who also works with me said that she has a lot of clients in the autism community and all of them make eye contact. In fact, I tend to make too much eye contact. When on the streets, I will stare at people and smile until they reply with a smile. Or if I want to talk to someone, but I'm not sure how to go about it, I will look at them and try to act friendly and smile until they approach me. I am working on changing both of those things, as I have learned that they are considered rude, but that is where I stand with eye contact. I can also tell you exactly how many times I looked away during the conversation where I was told that I make eye contact and can therefore not be autistic. It was 3 times, and each of these times I know that I looked away because as soon as I realized it, I glued my eyes back to my conversation partner's eyes every single time. I tend to look away more when I am comfortable with people, as then I let my guard down. That being said, some people in the community feel physical pain when making eye contact, and for some people it is something that is very intimate. As I have mentioned before, this is purely my personal experience. The second stereotype is that all people with autism love trains and math. As my parents can tell you, I struggle with math often. I am by no means failing it, but I often get frustrated with it and feel like giving up if there isn't someone to keep me going. I also have no interest whatsoever in trains. I mean, they are a perfectly valid obsession, and I'm sure that they are very fascinating when you know enough about them, but I do not share that fascination. In fact, from what I know about them, I can think of few things more boring than train schedules. In addition to this, I am able to talk about more things than my obsessions. In fact, so much that until recently I wasn't aware that I have obsessions, because I thought that to have one you have to only talk about them and bring them up in every single conversation you have. I don't do that with my obsessions. I learned to make conversation about many things, and so as long as there is something interesting in a topic, I will remain engaged in it. I have also been trained to be able to learn to talk about many topics with little information, which means that I can be a conversation partner who contributes even when I don't know much about the topic. Then, of course, there's empathy. I'm sure that everybody knows the stereotype that autistic people are sort of like robots, unable to empathize and, probably also unable to develop romantic feelings. I would just like to say here that that is not true. When I was little, my mother would get me to eat things like broccoli, which I could not stand, and bananas that were all brown and smushy, by pretending that they were crying and needing to be loved. And I decided if loving them meant eating them, then every single one of them deserved to be eaten and to be loved. I also have always empathized with book characters a lot. Spoiler alert for Harry Potter, but when Sirius Black died, I mourned for him like he was my godfather and not Harry's. In addition, I have always refused to believe that book characters aren't real, because the moment someone has a story, feelings, and motives, they are real to me. I would honestly be more surprised if it turned out that a book character was truly fake and that there was no possibility of them existing than if it turned out that that man who sat next to me on the bus one time and who I don't know anything about isn't real. Because what makes us real is not the fact that other people can touch us, but the things that they can't touch. The thoughts, the emotions, the motives, and the history. Another example of empathy happened just today, before I sat down to write this. My brother was really excited, and even though I wasn't excited before, I saw him jumping up and down, and that got me so excited that I started to popcorn, which is when I jump up and down and flap my hands because I'm so happy and excited that I can't keep it in anymore. Please note, popcorning is actually used for guinea pigs. It means when a guinea pig is so excited that they bounce around like popcorn. I will link a really cute video of guinea pigs popcorning in the description. But it's not used for autistic people in general. I simply use it for myself because I find it fitting. Other people in the community might find it offensive if you use it, as it might be interpreted as you saying that they're more like non-human animals than humans. Another stereotype is that we all have really great memories and are really, really great at one thing, better than just through talent. Even though this can be the case, and I believe around 10% of the community, in my case it is not. I am average in most school subjects, and I have a terrible short-term memory. I can recall the specifics of certain very specific events in the past, but I cannot tell you what the Sanger sequence is without notes, or probably with notes either. It's very confusing. And I learned that this week, like a few days ago. Unlike people such as Sherlock Holmes, who has been debated whether or not he's also in the autistic community, who seems to trust his memory above all else in life, even when I am confident about something that I remember, I will always present it as there being a possibility that I am wrong, because I have learned that nothing, especially not my memory, is certain in life. One more stereotype, which is obviously not true, is that boys are the only ones who get autism, or have autism. Hello, Asper Girl here. I know 3 other people who are confirmed to be in the community, 2 of which are girls. There are many reasons why autism in girls often goes unnoticed, and here are 2 main reasons. The first one is that we are better at masking. We can pretend to be neurotypical, act like other girls our age, copy them, and fit in perfectly. The second one is that research on autism is generally done on people born into male bodies. This means that the research is not done about the way we experience autism, but the way that male socialized people do. They might have completely different experiences than we do. Then, of course, there's the idea that people with autism are either high functioning and require little support, or low functioning and cannot be independent. I am verbal. Yeah. Maybe too much so. And I am going to normal school, and one day I will have learned to be independent enough to live and function in my own house or dorm. By many standards, I am a high-functioning individual. So much so that it took a year of therapy for depression for anyone to notice that I might not be neurotypical. And yet, I still meet a social worker many times, actually, a week, and my therapist once a week. And yet, there are many situations where I require the cooperation of my environment. Please note here as well that that is not something that is clear to most people. I am, by most standards, high functioning. Except for when I break down and cry. Except for the times when the only way out I see is death. Except for the times when a quiet party can lead to so much overload that I am ready to take my own life, suddenly standing there with a sharp blade, ready to at least try to do it, because I can't do life anymore. Because nothing is okay anymore. I am very sorry that I'm not able to talk about the stereotypes about nonverbal people here. This is because I have not done enough research on this topic, and even when it comes to verbal people, as I said before, I am no expert. I am just one person who wanted to share her personal responses to the stereotypes. To end this video, I also wanted to share something positive. Just an encouragement to anyone who needs it. If you told me a few months ago that I would be glad that I was born and that I didn't die during my attempts to, I would have told you to dream on. Yet here I am. Today I was so happy because a song I liked came on during my walk that I couldn't stop popcorning. I wish that I could share that feeling with you. I was so happy, so incredibly happy about life, and the fact that I got to share in it, that I didn't care that people were staring. I was jumping and flapping, and then I would take a few steps and popcorn again. Happiness is not the goal in life, but it is a side effect that I hope that all of you share. May you be filled with so much happiness that you bounce. Emma.